Hi, everybody. Happy Monday. It's June the 2nd. Welcome into Morning in the Valley. I am Jeff Bidwell. Today, we will be joined here in about 10 minutes by Belmont women's basketball coach Bart Brooks. After the Belmont women made it all the way to Hinkle Fieldhouse in the WBIT championship game, came up just short against Minnesota. But what an 8-year run so far for Bart Brooks, one of 8 teams in America is Belmont that has won at least 20 games in the last 10 years. So we will talk with him about, again, an incredible 8-year run, 2 trips to the Missouri Valley Conference Tournament Championship game in his 8 years in Belmont, still trying to get over the hump to get back to the NCAA Tournament since making the move to the Valley. He does have a regular season championship from back in 2023. So we'll talk with him coming up here in just a few minutes. All right, headlines of the day. And I want to spend a little time here on NCAA tournament expansion, which we briefly touched on Friday, but kind of ran out of time and wanted to be able to get into that a little more today. NCAA President Charlie Baker, who was at the Big 12 meetings last week, was interviewed and said, the plan is discussions are in place now to expand the tournament from 68 to either 72 or 76. And the discussions are to get that done by March. And so we may have had our last NCAA tournament of 68 teams moving forward. I think there are several different perspectives to look at this. There is there are the traditionalists who are still mad that the tournament isn't 64. When it went to 65 for a little bit, and then we've now gone to 68, and everybody's kind of settled in, and they think, look, the tournament's great. It doesn't need to change. Let's just not mess with a good thing. And that's where we are. Now, from the mid-major perspective, look, more teams, there is at least a hope as we have had this coagulation, I suppose, of power teams in the big schools. It used to be the Power 6, and then it's the Power 5, and now it's really the Power 4. And you throw the Big East in as well to some extent. But with so many teams being in the Big Ten and so many teams being in the SEC, it has sort of from a metric standpoint, it's made it very difficult for mid-major conferences to be able to crack into the field just from simple metrics and math. And so the thought and the hope is, look, if we add 4 or 8 teams, look, obviously those spots are all not going to mid-majors, but there's at least a hope that more mid-majors will be able to get in. And certainly in the Missouri Valley, who have gone 4 years without having more than one team get in, that would be an advantage. That's the perspective. That's the perspective of, hey, maybe this can help us. And again, the significance here, and this is going to be the thread through this entire story, is money. And the more units you get, the more games that teams in your conference play in the tournament on the men's side are worth millions of dollars. I think the number is something like $2.1 million goes to the conference. So look, for Drake, they got in 2.1. They won a game. They played another game. There's another 2.1. That's great. That's why when you have the SEC and they get 14 teams or whatever it is, they don't even have to win a game. And they've got 14 times 2.1 to go to the conference. That is why this becomes the Hunger Games about NCAA tournament spots, trying to hang on and get as many of those spots as you can. Now, from the Big 12 meetings, the Big 12 commissioner, in discussions about the expansion, says we would like to expand if there's more money involved. They want I believe, speaking for the membership, that they want to go back to the TV partners, the Turner folks, the CBS folks, and look, whatever our deal is and all the money we're making, we want to make sure that there's more money coming in so that unit size at worst does not get smaller. Now, in this story from frontofficesports.com that interviewed some media executives that remain nameless, but they said there will be no additional money. If this tournament expands, there will be no added money. And look, from their standpoint, it's not a value add. They said it may even be a negative in terms of value being added. to adding more first 4 games on the front end, because that's what's going to have to happen. Is instead of 2 games Tuesday, 2 games Wednesday, now you're looking at maybe 4 games Tuesday, 4 games Wednesday to get into the official field of 64 that starts on Thursday. And from an immediate executive standpoint, saying there's no added value, I get it. I'm sitting here talking to you today as die hard of a college basketball fan as you're ever going to find. I have little to no interest in those first 4 games. If it is not someone, a team, a program that I am incredibly aligned with, I don't watch it. I may flip in the final minute to see, hey, is something exciting going to happen? I mean, Alabama State, I think it was this year, wins their 16 versus 16 game in Dayton at the buzzer, and didn't see it live, and might have been the next day before I even saw social media highlights of it. So I understand from a TV perspective that it's just not, and that's the whole argument about, having these 16 versus 16s. They're not really in the tournament. If you want to make that argument that playing in Dayton is not really in the tournament, I get it. There's obviously disagreements from the other side of the aisle, but I understand that sort of thought. Now, if you expand the tournament to 72, to 76, one of the main things you're going to do, and people say, well, it's just going to water down the tournament. What it does is it eliminates bid thieves, and at least for the time being, because then when the bubble, you get to 76 and now 77, 78, 79, they're still going to feel like, hey, we got our bid stolen. But it eliminates the bid thieves. So Indiana State, there was a second team out 2 years ago. Obviously, if there's 4 more teams, 8 more teams, they're going to be in. There is a history of teams coming from the first 4, coming from Dayton, getting to the final 4. Not a lot, but it's happened. 2011, VCU, 2021, UCLA. They made that trip. So it's not that these teams getting in are not good enough to be able to make a run into the tournament. And as we've seen, when you get these mid-majors on the floor with the high majors, they can play and they can make runs. And that is what I think all of us love the tournament. The basis of the tournament is just get in. We got a chance now. It's us and you on a neutral floor. Let's see who's got the best 5 out there. And, Missouri Valley has certainly shown over the years it is a successful formula for them if they can get in, and they can get a couple in, but able to certainly make a dent in the tournament over the years. Twice in 15 years, a team from Dayton did not win a game in the field of 64. Just twice. So 13 times it has happened. So that's where these bubble teams where you just expanded a little bit to say they don't belong and say they can't make some hay when you get into the tournament just isn't right. And so that's where I'm curious if it's going to happen, because the bottom line in the end, it's all about the money. It's all about the money. And if there's no more money to be had, and now you're going to put in an additional 4 teams or put in an additional 8 teams, and now those slices of the pie are suddenly getting a little smaller, the appetite for expanding the tournament is going to diminish significantly, because that's, why are we losing money in this process now? Now, again, from a standpoint of the advantage for the Missouri Valley, you look at Drake, an 11 seed, they get in, they play a 6 seed, they win, they move on. Great. Well, if you can get an at-large bid in the Missouri Valley, and maybe you're an 11 seed again, and the Dayton bubble has expanded, well, now you're an 11 taking on another 11. Look, you win that game. It's an 11 versus an 11 pays the exact same way as a 16 beating a 1. It's just the way it is. And that's why, the smaller conferences, I think, the Ohio Valley Conference, which was really gutted here in recent years with Murray State, Belmont, Jacksonville State, Austin Peay, Eastern Kentucky, all leaving. And it's now, they're almost relegated for the most part. That didn't happen this year with SIU Edwardsville, but for the most part, they're relegated to that 16-16 matchup. That's good for the OVC because they can get a win, and then they can, they can get that extra unit and be able to help their conference. And that's where I think expansion can help the Missouri Valley if it happens. But again, it's all going to come down to the money. And in the end, the money rules. And if the TV folks aren't going to cough any more up, that's going to make it very difficult, I think, in the end, especially for this to happen by 2026, for us to expand to either 72 or 76. All right, time to welcome in our guest. He is the head coach of the Belmont Bruins. He is Bart Brooks. Coach, good morning to you. How is Nashville, Tennessee today?
Good morning, Jeff. It's a beautiful day in Nashville. Good to be here. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. 2 months ago today, you were in Indianapolis playing in the WBIT championship game, coming up short against Minnesota there. In the 2 months since, I'm sure in the oodles of free time you have had, what has been the most relaxing thing you have allowed yourself to do before we fire up the 25-26 season?
Well, no doubt, time in the backyard with my big green egg and my two boys, playing some baseball, just enjoying family time, really. And that's been a little bit sparse. I think our springs are a little more stressful and swamped than they used to be in coaching. But I was able to do that for a handful of days, and we're back at it already this week. So here we go again.
Here we go again. You spent some time at DePaul, so obviously you had spent some time at Hinkle Fieldhouse, but taking your team there to play, I feel like as the old guys in the room, I'm not even sure if kids these days, if they've even seen Hoosiers at any point in their lives, was there any going there as a head coach for the first time? Was there any pull somewhere in your heart to go full Normandale? And whether it's David and Goliath or bringing the tape measure out, anything of that nature for that game?
Yeah, I did want to scream hickory when we walked in and see if it reverberated through the rafters. But it is interesting, as a coach, and I viewed myself as a young coach. But the players, for whatever reason, players get younger every year, I feel like.
Sure.
And they get less attuned to the things that I grew up with. So there's a handful of our players that understood what we were walking into, but the large majority, it was another gym, another building, and it was a cool place to play. But man, for those of us who grew up on that movie, and obviously there's a handful of our players who from the area, the Midwest, where Indiana basketball is big. It was a really cool thing to be there for as long as we were there too. We got to be there for shoot-arounds and practices, and really cool to have an experience like that in that kind of an arena.
To make a run all the way to the championship game through that tournament, to win the game, some in dramatic fashion that you did, with the 8 returners you have coming back, just how being able, with 2 months of perspective on it now, how helpful was it to be able to have those high leverage moments together, and now as you're trying to build for a new season?
Well, I think no doubt that's going to be helpful going into next year. I think there's momentum anytime your program can win games late and have a run, an extended run. I've never played a game in April as a coach, and that was a unique thing to be playing meaningful basketball in April. That was a really cool thing for our program. So I know that's going to help us. I think more than anything, it probably helped us stay connected, stay together, and weather the transfer portal. I think that's always a challenge this day and age, that you put something together as a group, and then how can you build on it for the next year? And we are really blessed that we didn't have anyone leave the program, and we've got 8 returners. A lot of those guys played a lot of meaningful minutes for us. And then we get to add some new players, and we start over again. Unfortunately, we don't get to start in a championship. We have to start from scratch like everyone else. But I really do like who we have in the program coming back.
You talked with our friend Steve Lehman after the season, and you said to him something I thought was great. You said last year was the absolute best version of Belmont women's basketball we've ever had here. Number one, what made it the best version? And number two, is that version sustainable, or is that version in the rear view and you've got to build a new version?
Yeah, I think last year's group was unique in that we had new players who had a lot of experience, who were unbelievably good at fitting with our returners. And that's been a challenge, I think, this day and age with the transfer portal, bringing in not just freshmen every year, but bringing in transfers from a lot of different experiences, different places, and trying to figure out how to mesh it all together. And I thought last year's group, probably more than any group I've coached, they really bought into each other and playing for each other and enjoying each other. And I thought they just they wanted to keep playing together. And I thought that showed itself on the floor when they competed. And I think it's sustainable, but man, we are still starting back from zero. I told our staff the other day, no matter how good it got at the end of the year, we still have to start from square one again next week. And so we've got a lot of work to do, a lot of returners, but we've got to be better. We've got to get better. We've got improving to do. We haven't won a Valley championship in a tournament, and we've been close, but we haven't done that yet. So that there's obviously work to do to compete in our own league, and obviously there's aspirations to play and compete in the NCAA tournament.
This century, the first 15 years, Belmont had 3 seasons of 20 wins. In the last 10 seasons, it's been 10 seasons of 20 wins, and you've been leading the way in the last 8 of those, just one of 8 teams in the country with 10 straight years of 20 wins. How have you not only done it, but again, we talk about sustaining it? How have a program that, again, this isn't like, hey, we've been great for 50 years, but been able to build it and then keep it there, where we just know it here on June 2nd, we can pencil you in for 20, and from there it's up to you guys?
Well, I think there's a lot of factors that go into it. I think we've got a great support system with our administration. I think Belmont's a beautiful place. It's an easy place to recruit to. But more than anything, I think the longevity of our staff. We've been together. Amy Malo, Jamie Givens, and myself have been together all 8 years that I've been here. Jess Holman has been here for the last 4 years. We've got stability as a staff. And I think that leads, we're allowed to do a lot of things that maybe other staffs aren't, because we're not training people. We're not teaching people our system. We're not teaching people how to coach. We're really invested in our players. And I feel like that more than anything, if I could put my finger on one thing, it's our staff. We've got an unbelievable staff around me, and they make me look good. That's for sure.
3 years into the Valley, how has the transition gone from the Ohio Valley to the Missouri Valley? As you walk in the door, you win a regular season championship in 23. You get to the Valley tournament title game in 23 and 25. Haven't been able to kick that door in to get back to the NCAA. But overall, from your seat, where are you guys as a program 3 years into this new venture?
Yeah, I think I had a lot of respect for the Valley coming into the league, and I think that's probably only heightened since I've competed against these teams and these coaches for the last 3 years. I have an unbelievable excitement knowing that we have to be really good every year to compete in this league, and the challenges are. I think one of the challenges of our league last year, I think we were good enough to get multiple teams into the NCAA tournament. I think one of the things that hurt us is we had too many teams who were good. And that's kind of a weird way to say it, but our Ivy League competitors, they got 2 at-large teams because they had 3 teams at the top that had separated themselves from everyone else. And in our league, because the Valley was so deep and so good this year, we legitimately had 7 teams that could have won that tournament. And that is a really cool league to be a part of. But I think it forces us as a league, we've got to try to figure out a way to get more than one team in this tournament, because we're talented enough. I think the teams are good enough. And that's really the excitement that we had coming into the league, knowing that we had a chance that we could be an at-large team playing and competing in this league. And I think that's been our charge, and I think the charge of all of us as a coaches group to try to figure out a way to do that.
I know there's been recent conversations about trying to do that. To your point, last year, 5 teams in the top 93 in the net. You were at 51, Murray State 52, Missouri State obviously on their way out 65, Drake 71, Northern Iowa 93. What is, if you're commissioner for the day and you can say, folks, we need to do this, what's your best idea to maybe help get to be able to have a multi-bid league again?
Well, I think we're doing it. I think we're very purposeful in our meetings and our communication and how we think about moving forward, and scheduling is probably the biggest moving target of all, because scheduling nowadays, you don't know who is on your team when you schedule, and you don't know who's on the team you're scheduling. And so that's a really big challenge for all of us. But I do think we all know that we've got to have meaningful non-conference wins for our league to move forward. And we dropped the ball with that last year. We had an opportunity to beat Ohio State, Mississippi State, close loss at Kentucky. We needed to win a couple of those games, and we didn't do that. So I think all of us understand what's in front of us, what we need to do. And the unfortunate part about being in a league that's a mid-major league is that we've got to be really good in November, we've got to be really good in December, and then we can't mess up at all in January and February, and then we've got to be really good in March.
Right.
And if you're good in all those phases, then you have a chance to be in that large team.
Yeah, no benefit of the doubt at all. When your schedule came out last summer, I remember openly laughing when I saw it, because I said, this is borderline sociopathic with what you were doing, but there's a method to the madness. Playing number 13 Kansas State, number 12 Ohio State, you got them to come to your building, number 14 Duke, Michigan, Mississippi State, number 16 Kentucky. Hey, we got a couple rivalry games with Lipscomb and Middle Tennessee thrown in there as well. To your point, you didn't get to knock off any of the big dogs, but you were knocking on the door. What lessons did you learn from last year's scheduling, and should we expect this sociopathic behavior is going to continue moving on, that it was the right decision for what you're trying to do for your program moving forward?
I'm not sure it was a great decision for anyone to play that schedule when you speak it that way. But at the end of the day, I think for us, our goal is always, we want to put ourselves in position to have a chance to play in the NCAA tournament. And I know for us to be an at-large team, we have to beat at-large teams. So we have to schedule them if we're going to beat them. And I think probably last year's schedule was a little bit of a murderer's row, a gauntlet of really challenging teams. And the biggest challenge of all of that was one of those games was at home. That you listed. And that's probably the biggest thing that us as a league, we're trying to figure out, how can we get home games against some of these teams that we can compete against and win, and to get some of these signature wins. But yeah, that schedule, it's not going to look quite the same, but it's going to be very similar. It's a couple of new names and a couple of those same teams. And again, credit to, Duke and Kentucky, Ohio State. Those guys are Kentucky and Duke are going to be at Belmont this year. We got home and homes with those guys. So
Awesome.
I think we've worked really hard to put ourselves in a position to play against some of these teams, and a lot of them have been willing to play home and home. So we're working to do that every year. But yeah, I'm not sure I laugh when I see the schedule. I think there's tears and fetal position and crying and all those things. But it also gives our kids a chance to, we play great. It gives us a chance to have one of those signature wins that we all need in this league.
Those are games that never will happen on the men's side, but there are women's coaches. They're like, yeah, we'll go on the road and we'll go play, especially against a program with the pedigree that you have. How much arm twisting is there, and begging and negotiating that is involved, or is there really a dialogue of, look, we can make this work if you pick up the phone and call? And obviously every coach on the other end has a different perspective on scheduling, I'm sure.
Yeah, it is. It's probably one of the hardest things, parts of my job. We're still, I'm in the middle of it right now, trying to find people to come play us, and it's really hard to find games. And I think you're right on the money, though. That I think the women's coaches, as a whole, are a lot more receptive to going on the road and playing in some of these environments that you would never see a men's team do. And give credit to the coaches, Kenny Brooks at Kentucky and Kara Lawson at Duke. They're willing to put their players in a position that it's a really hard thing to go on the road and play at Belmont. And so they're putting their team in that vulnerable position, but they know that's going to help them down the road as well. And the same thing we do on the road, and trying to play some of these teams that we know that no matter what happens, we're going to learn and grow through that experience. So yeah, it's not all sunshine and rainbows when you schedule. That's for sure. It takes a lot of rejection, unfortunately.
I want to talk about your career, spending 2 years at Division II Barry once upon a time. Then you go to DePaul for 11 years and then get your first head coaching job there at Belmont, getting ready for year number 9. There's a lot of young coaches where you look at their resumes before they get their first head coaching job, and they've had 8 stops. It's like a year here, 2 years there, 6 months there. And you have put roots down in these last 2 places. What is it about your personality, or just your your career path that has kept you now for 2 decades at just 2 schools?
Well, I think I'm really fortunate. I know a lot of friends who have lived in 6 or 7 different states in that span of time. It's I think it's a function of a lot of things. I think I was blessed to work at DePaul for Coach Bruno, a Hall of Famer, a guy who took a chance on me, gave me an opportunity when I probably hadn't earned one, honestly, but he gave me a shot, and I had so much loyalty to him and his program, and wanted to work hard for him because he deserved that success at DePaul, and DePaul was a family to me. And knowing I wanted to be a head coach, had the opportunity to apply for this job here at Belmont. Didn't really understand Belmont during that time, but man, once I got down here and I saw it on my interview, and this place was a gold mine. I knew it was a gold mine, a sleeping giant, and I just have so much respect and excitement for the people I get to work with, the people that I work for. And so I just feel like I'm blessed. I don't have a dream job. I mean, I feel like I'm making Belmont my dream job.
Let's talk about your team coming back, and 8 kids coming back, which again, in this day and age, always feels a little less volatility on the women's side than the men's side, but you still always have to worry in March about who's leaving and who's coming back. And you've got a security blanket by the name of Tootie Jones coming back for year number 6, got a COVID year, had a redshirt year because of an injury. You don't always see kids come back for year number 6. Sometimes after 5, it's like, I've had enough. I'm ready to move on. Who was pushing the bus there the most to get her to come back to you for year number 6?
Well, I think for sure me. I've been on this sideline here at Belmont for this is going into 9 years, and Tootie's going to be with me for 6 of them. So I feel like everything we've done here is just about been with Tootie Jones on our team, wearing one of our uniforms, and I know I feel a lot better when she's on the floor. So I was all on board for Tootie playing as long as she could possibly play, and she was. I think she's got a passion and an excitement for what we have the opportunity to do next year. I think she's someone who's very very in charge of her wanting to leave a legacy. Wanting to be a part of something bigger than herself. And she's, obviously she could have left any year. She could have left and gone to an SEC school or a Big Ten school. And she chose to stay here. And so that means a ton to us. And I think all the accolades, all the success that she's had, she's going to be one of the most decorated players in the history of our program. For sure, have the most wins. At playing 6 years, you should have more wins than everyone else.
You would hope
but
so.
Yeah, we're excited about her.
You graduate Kendall Cheeseman and Kendall Holmes, but you're still bringing back 3 of your top 5 scorers, along with Tootie, Emily LaChapelle coming back, and then Jalen Banks, who was your leading scorer last year, 3rd team All Missouri Valley, 2 years now in the books. What do you want to see out of her this summer as she's now an upperclassman and trying to see her just get the most out of her potential?
Yeah, I think she really caught fire at the end of our WBIT run. I think she's got all the talent in the world, and for her and for us moving forward into this next season and into her junior year, and I think you hit it on the head. She's no longer an underclassman; she's an upperclassman, and we're going to lean on her for leadership, for consistency, for doing some of the things. She's got an unbelievable work ethic. She's been in the gym every day since the season ended. Every single day she's been in our practice facility. She was in here a couple minutes ago shooting. She's working extremely hard, and she cares. It matters to her. She wants to win. So I think her growing as a leader and just being the consistent good version of Jay, I think that's probably the biggest area of growth for us going into year number 3. And we're really excited that she's back too.
8 returners, 5 freshmen coming in. You only had to go sign 2 out of the portal. You got Ace Strickland coming from Tennessee after a couple of years. You signed her April 17th. KK Brody coming in for 2 years at Pepperdine, signed her May 25th. I know there's no silver bullet to this answer, but when you have to go into the portal, uh, is there value in patience, which you get KK Brody a week ago, basically, or is there, oh gosh, we got to jump in there and start grabbing folks right out of the jump because it's like there's a storm coming and you run to Walmart and there's nothing but rye bread left because all the good stuff's gone. What's your general philosophy getting into the portal after the season?
Well, I think generally we panic. I mean, everyone just panics. we call everyone, offer everyone, and whoever. No, I think that in all seriousness, I think the recruiting, you can't go slow in the transfer portal. You can't take your time. You've got to be all in really on that first phone call because there's probably 15 to 20 other people who are all in, and if you're lukewarm, you're not going to get a shot at a player. I think our success in the transfer portal has 100% come from players we've had previous relationships with.
Yeah.
And that's no different with these two kids that we signed this year that we had recruited them out of high school, both of them, and had good relationships with them. Their families understood them. They understood us. I think they knew what they were getting in Belmont. And I think they had a pretty good vision of Belmont being the kind of place that they wanted to end up here for their last stop. So, I think that's been the biggest part for us. If we've got a relationship with someone, that just makes it a lot easier. Otherwise, it's you're trying to separate yourself from all the other people who are. There's desperation for sure at that time of year.
Last question for you, Coach. 2025-26 is here. Everybody's rolling in. Summer workouts ready to roll. What is the best part? And your job, what is the best part of the next 4 months, on or off the floor, with this new version of Belmont women's basketball before we officially fire up with the first practices in late September?
Well, I think one of the coolest parts about this time of year specifically is when everyone gets back together for the first time. This group will be together, freshmen, transfers, returners, all together. Is the growth that I see. I see our newcomers come in, fresh and don't know anything, learning their game, learning how they respond to things. But one of the coolest parts about my job is seeing development and growth of our players. And so our returners, I'm really excited to see what they've added to their games. I think all of them were challenged and all of them have a competitive drive that they need to improve and get better. And so when we get together this summer, it's going to be sit back and watch these kids, how they've improved, how they've worked. And that's the beauty in all of this, the process, the work behind the scenes. So I love that part of it, getting busy when no one's watching.
He's Bart Brooks, the head women's basketball coach at Belmont. Coach, thanks so much for the time. Hopefully you can get out in front of that Big Green Egg and grill up some steaks here at some point this summer. But thank you so much for the time. Enjoy it. Hopefully we can catch up soon.
Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate it.
You got it. All right. There is Bart Brooks. What a job. I mean, what a job he has done as that thing got rolling about 10 years ago, and he has just continued to keep it rolling as they have gone, again, one of 8 teams in America with 10 straight years of 20-plus wins. And they've got a lot of pieces again back with Tootie Jones, Emily LaChapelle, and Jalen Banks, couple all-league kids in there, and they play an exciting brand of basketball, and they've been great, and it is awesome to his point about the scheduling, and you got to win some of those big games, and that was part. You get to the end of the year, and there's 2 ways to go about it, I guess, with scheduling, and you just play the toughest teams you can get on there, and they end up 51 in the net. At the end of the day, had the best net in the Missouri Valley. When you have Murray State right behind them at 52, but to his point, it was when the end of the year came and you were looking at on the I guess it's the the ESPN bracketologies for the women before Murray State officially got slid over into the automatic qualifying spot. They were in that next 4 out, which that's great. But you need to get somebody a little more closer to being into the field there of 68. And Belmont, their numbers, certainly the numbers, I think, inflated just a tick at the end because of, beating Villanova in the WBIT semifinals, getting those last 4 games to be able to kind of get that late surge. But, when the dust settled to where they were, but it's like to play, number 13 Kansas State, again, to have number 12 Ohio State come into your building, but you lose by 4. You go to Duke, you play Michigan on a neutral floor, lose by 10. You play Mississippi State on a neutral floor, you lose by 3. You go to Lexington, play number 16 Kentucky, you lose by 6. It's like, man, if they get one of those, how much that might have changed their resume around a little bit and maybe had them when they lose in the championship game in Evansville to Murray State, that maybe they are in the conversation for sneaking one of those wins out. But now an awesome piece of scheduling news there, as he said, home and home with Kentucky and Duke. And so the Blue Devils and the Wildcats will be coming to the Curb Event Center this year. So big games there for the Bruins coming up this season.